He's got a lot obviously going on in his life, but he's never, not been there for me.
My parents have been my biggest supporters, and on that same note, have always been completely worried every day, which I respect. And now as a mom, I really understand. I personally would be heartbroken if he was diabetic, because I know how hard it is, but because of JDRF and because of our involvement, I know that one day there will be a cure.
A longtime good friend of mine, Joe Buck, has always worn a Max Life bracelet. Since before I was diagnosed, he's been almost like an uncle to me, I would say. Just my dad's best friend, great role model to me, just great all-around friend. When I got diagnosed, he took it pretty hard too, because his father, Jack Buck, dealt with type 1 diabetes. And so once I got diagnosed, he was always fighting for JDRF. He always had a bracelet on no matter where he was, whether it be calling the World Series, calling the Super Bowl. He's always got his orange bracelet on, which has been huge for JDRF because he's gone on TV saying, hey, I'm wearing this for my friend Max, support JDRF. Like, he's definitely made the fight JDRF has much more well known, and very thankful to him for that.
As tough as it is, it's nice to have a group of people who understand and are just there for you. I wanted to go away from home for college. I wanted to move to New York City. So I feel really lucky, and I have a great team of doctors in New York that JDRF helped me find.
JDRF has become like a close family to us because it's just an amazing group of knowledgeable people that want you to know that they're fighting for it just as much as you are, and that they care about it just as much as you do.
It really just means a lot knowing that other people out there care and realize that this is something that needs to be cured, honestly.
There's going to be good days and there's going to be bad days, but throughout it all, they've just remained by my side and encouraging and supportive, and they give me hope that one day there might be a cure.
The donations and the volunteer work that so many people do with JDRF means everything to me and my family. JDRF has been there for them to give them hope.
It means a lot, and without you guys, I really don't know if I would be here today, so thank you.
Thank you everybody for being here tonight. And a huge thanks to Emily and Taylor for being here and for sneaking into town and actually surprising their parents tonight. While my parents were aware that I'd be here tonight, their support still means every bit as much. My story and my parents' story with type 1 begins 11 and a half years ago. In the weeks leading up to my diagnosis, I was suddenly incredibly thirsty at all times. I needed to use the bathroom more than once an hour. And when I got home from school, I was so tired and out of sorts that I would literally break down in tears at the prospect of one page of homework. For recognizing this change in my health, I suppose it's fair to say that my parents have been my watchdogs and supporters from even before my diagnosis. On November 15th, 2004, my life changed forever. I remember my parents coming to the school playground during recess to pick me up and finding that strange. The urine sample they took to the doctor made it clear that I had type 1 diabetes. As a 10-year-old, my biggest concern were the dozen finger sticks and insulin injections I'd face every single day. While I cried, my parents were the strong, supportive, optimistic arms I needed to be in, telling me everything would be fine and that I could still live a healthy, normal life. Shortly after being diagnosed, I told my parents that I was glad I wasn't diagnosed younger than 5th grade. When my mother asked me why, I told her, I believed in the tooth fairy longer than I believed in Santa or the Easter Bunny, because I always thought if it was just you and Dad sneaking in to get my tooth, I would wake up. But now that I know that you can come into my room, stab me in my hand until I bleed, and make me drink a juice box without me remembering any of it, that changes everything. So as I've gotten older and more self-sufficient, my parents' support has changed forms. When I wanted to do a one-day, 100-mile JDRF ride to cure diabetes in Death Valley as an 85-pound 13-year-old, my parents understandably worried about me riding by myself. But rather than telling me to go play baseball like other 13-year-olds, my mother picked up the sport and rode the 100 miles with me. Now 9.5 years after that first ride, I can say the multiple rides to cure diabetes I do every year with them. Those days are some of the most special days of every year. So no matter what I do, my parents make the burden of diabetes their own. When I ran my first half marathon with my uncle when I was 16, my parents rode bikes all over the city to have my blood sugar kit all set up and ready to go, so I would have to waste as little time as possible testing. As I've run the New York, London, and Chicago marathons in the last 2 years, I've done so knowing that my parents will be racing all over the city, armed with hundreds of grams of carbohydrates, prepared to run alongside me for a little bit, should I run lower than expected and need all of my supply. All that is to say, my parents are amazingly and fully supportive of me in everything I do with this disease. Without that support, I am confident that the normal, active, adventurous, and healthy life I've led would not be possible. So tonight, Emily, Taylor, and I have the opportunity to tell our parents something we don't say as often as we should. Thank you. Thank you for the years of support and encouragement. Thank you for telling us we can do anything, be anything, despite living with this relentless disease. We thank you for the 1 a.m. alarms and some nights the 4 a.m. alarms also, to sneak in and test our blood sugars while we slept. We thank you for taking on this burden as your own, and most importantly, for giving us hope. But just saying thank you will never be enough. All we can do to repay you is to promise to live a healthy life and to take care of ourselves so that when a cure is found, we'll be here, healthy enough to benefit from it. For the parents in the room who have children too young to say thank you, or don't yet understand that they should say thank you, I'll say it, thank you. Know that your love, your support, and your dedication makes an enormous difference in your child's life, and that one day they'll appreciate all that you've done. So we thank all of our parents for never giving up on a cure, but we also want to thank each of you. Just as our parents support us, you support them, and we know you'll continue to support them. Our parents, like many of you in this room, will never stop fighting for our quality of life and ultimately for a cure. You have answered their calls, their emails, and their letters asking for support. For years, even decades, you have sent donations, volunteered your time, and sat through long programs, perhaps like this one now. So, for all of that you've done and all that you continue to do for our parents and for us, thank you. JDRF is the engine of change for those of us living with T1D and our families. No other organization puts more funding toward research that directly benefits our quality of life and hope for the future. By harnessing the endless passion of those affected by type 1, JDRF keeps us moving to horizons filled with freedom from this terrible disease. I am incredibly grateful for every single person here tonight. You are all playing a crucial role in our quest for your cure. For that, I'll say one last time, thank you.